Okay. Om Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Vagartha Viva Samprukta Vagartha Pratipattaye Jagatah Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnur, Gurur Devo Maheshwarah, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mute everybody. Okay, we'll get started. We are on the Namam 98, Siddhihi. That's where we were starting to read the meaning from. And then we'll chant the next sloka. And my notes also says we have also chanted the 11th sloka. We'll just revise it a little bit because it has too many sas in it. So we'll revise that and we'll get to the meanings. So we've done siddhaha and understood what perfection means. And there is a particular slokam that talks about Bhagavan, and Bhagavan being there are 6 absolute measures that Bhagavan has, and that's why Bhaga, the one who has Bhaga, is called Bhagavan. So we've done that, like we read that in Gita. But Siddhaha, somebody who is the perfect. The next nama we are looking at is Siddhihi, attainment. The Swarga, etc., are unsatisfactory as they are perishable, and the only imperishable thing is He who is consciousness in all things and who has had transcendental form. So this namam has like multiple meanings, but it only appears once in Vishnu Sahasranamam. So something that, so depending on like how there is a grammatical rule called as the set of rules called as samasas, how we use the samasam, how we mm, I don't want to, how, for example, Siddhihi could be Bahuvrihi Samasam or Tatpurusha Samasam, which means that something to be attained is Siddhi, and he is already a Siddhi. He is the Siddhi. So there are two different meanings that get taken for this particular Nama. What it means is something to be attained. So when we think about moksha, what do we attain? We attain Paramatman. But and who is the Paramatman? Somebody who is a Siddhi himself. So that's how we have to take those two meanings. So what Shankaracharya is saying, uh, so in Sanskritam it says Sarva Vastushu Samvidrupatvat. So he is the imperishable and because all everything else we consider ourselves imperishable, the perishable ones, and the day we understand the imperishability that lives within us, the consciousness within us, that is a state of attaining siddhi. And who is the siddhi? The Bhagavan himself is siddhi. Those are the two different meanings. So we'll look at the next namam 99. Sarvadihi, the beginning of all, because he is the origin of all beings. And there are quite a few other namas we have looked at that have similar meanings. So he is the Bhutadihi is one other namam that comes to mind right away. So he is the beginning of everything, and we have talked about that in length. He is the unmanifested God's particle that actually became the universe that came into existence. So he is in everything and whatever we see around us in both tangible and intangible forms. So he is the beginning of everything. The next namam is Achyutaha, and this namam appears 3 times in Vishnu Sahasranamam. So the 100th namam, the 319th, and the 552nd, all 3 namas, but each have their own meanings. In this one, Shankaracharya gives us the meaning of the unlapsing. He has not lapsed, and he is not lapsing, and will not lapse from his own glory, hence the name Achyuta. And here Shankaracharya is taking a reference from Taittiriya Aranyakam. He is eternal, calm, and unlapsing, Achyuta. The Lord also says, I have not lapsed from my status at any time before, hence I am called Achyuta by that fact. Here, and Shankaracharya says, thus end the first 100 namas. So Achyuta has, as I mentioned, like multiple meanings that will be given in other places too. One we say is unlapsing, somebody who doesn't lapse from his eternal status. And the other one is somebody who is not easily reachable or touchable. And the reason why we say that is, as we previously talked about, we are talking about objects when we look at everything else. I want to learn about a particular book. It is very easy for me because I can see it, I can feel it. But how would I know myself, the Bhagavan that is living in me? And how do I describe it? Like, it's the subject, not the object. It's internal, not external. It's me who is seeking the knowledge. Therefore, there is nothing else that will be able to explain to me who I am other than knowing my own consciousness. So that's the one other meaning. And the other one, I believe, and I shouldn't say this without getting clarification in my head first. No, I think I'll just leave it at that. And if a third one I confirm that, then I will come back with that particular meaning as well. I will follow up on that in the forum. Now we will look at the next sloka number 11, one more time, and then we'll go read the meanings. And looks like we have previously chanted, so I won't spend too much time on it. अजः सर्वेश्वरः सिद्धः सिद्धिः सर्वादिरच्युतः वृषा कपिरमेयात्मा सर्वयोगविनिश्रितः. Okay, so I think looks like it's the second line. Sorry, my bad. So we are just looking at the second line of 11th sloka. We have looked at the meanings for the first one. So Vrisha Kapi Ameyatma Sarva Yoga Vinisritaha is one namam. So there are three namams in the second line. So Vrishakapihi means two different meanings, dharma and boar. Dharma is known as Vrisha by its act of pouring out all desired objects. The boar, Kapi, as he protected, or Pa means to protect. And there are many words, and if you remember the way Vagardha Vivasamprukto gets chanted, the first sentence says, Jagatah Pitaro Vande Parvati Parameshwarau, and the second line says Parvati Pa Rameshwarau. So there are multiple meanings. So at some point we'll take up that sloka and understand that there are 25 different meanings that you can take from that sloka. So here Pa means to protect. So Kapi, somebody who protected, the boar who protected the earth from the great waters. So Varaha Swami. So the Mahabharatam in Shanti Parvam says, Kapi means the great boar and Vrusha means dharma. Hence the progenitor Kashyapa calls me by the appellation Vrisha Kapi. So one doubt here. Dharma and boar is how it is translated here. Okay, so that just is describing Lord Varaha. So the next namam, Ameyatma, of indefinable nature. And no other description or explanation has been given for that. Parichetum na shakyate atma asyeti ameyatma. Something that cannot be defined. And can somebody help me with why it cannot be defined? We've talked about that. I just want to make sure that what I'm saying is making sense.
Because it's infinite.
It's infinite, absolutely. Anything else?
Has no shape,
Yeah.
no form.
Form.
And it can be seen everywhere within you and in the world around you.
Exactly.
So it's more like omnipresent and omnipotent.
Correct. the transcendent and immanent. It's within us and it's everywhere. Absolutely. So here, when it comes to the indefinable nature, they use the namam Atma. So there are quite a few namas in Vishnu Sahasranamam that come as the end of Atma. So Paramatma, Bhutatma, Mayatma. So there are multiple namas. So I know of a Granthakarta who has taken just the Atma namas and then he has written some nice commentary on it. On that undefinable can be defined through these namas is how he describes it, and at the end he concludes that despite all of these names it is still the undefinable. So that's what came into mind when I was reading this one. So it's an interesting exercise. If you know how to chant Vishnu Sahasranamam, when you're chanting next time, try to highlight all the Atma namas and see how many namas just describe the Atman. Um, the Vedas actually say no is the only pramanam that tells us about the Atma because there is no other jnanam that is available. And of course, all the other jnanams like the Prakarana Granthas and everything else that talk about namas are talking based on what's written in the Vedas. Shruti is our main pramanam. And it also says Shruti cannot describe what it is, Shruti can say what it is not. And it is called as the Neti Neti. Neti means not this, not this. So it only will tell us not this body, not this mind, not this senses, not the prana, not what you think it is, not a vigraham, not a temple. It is not all any of these, but then it is all of it. So that the undefinable nature, even Vedas could not describe what it is. It's only by saying not this, not this, neti, neti. It's been described for us, for us to contemplate and figure it out ourselves. So the next namam is Sarva Yoga Vinishritaha, devoid of all contacts. So Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, this spirit indeed is unattached, or he is beyond the reach of the various systems of speculations taught in the Shastras, or he is realized through yoga taught in the various Shastras, is how Shankaracharya is describing this one. Uh, so the most important thing for us to just start understanding is devoid of all contacts. This spirit, and they use the translation, don't bother about that. The actual Sanskrit term that's used in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, that's why I love reading in Sanskrit and then understanding what the translation means, though it's easy for us to read from English and not even understand what they're saying. So the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad sentence is Asango hyam purushaha. This purusha is asangaha. Sanga means attachment. Sanga means to be in touch. And so therefore Bhagavan is being described as asangaha. So how is that possible for Bhagavan? We are saying he is everything and everywhere, but he is still not somebody who is in touch with anything. How would that be possible? Because he is the awareness, he is the intangible, the sole truth of everything, and he is beyond the trigunas. Because with yeah, there is a description. There is a little equation that I read in Gaudapada Karika for Mandukya Upanishad. It says God plus guna is Bhagavan. No, sorry, God plus guna is human, and human minus gunas is Bhagavan, nobody else but God. So just by adding the satvikam, the rajasikam, the tamasika gunas, one starts having thoughts. Thoughts are vrittis, and vrittis have memory. Chittam just maintains that there is a cycle that goes on, and that causes a like and a dislike, and therefore I have to do it an activity. I don't want to do an activity, so it just becomes a churning wheel, a hamster wheel that the human being gets caught in. So in order to become naishkarmya, somebody who is not doing an action, means that we devoid ourselves of gunas. Because Bhagavan is nirgunam or gunatitam, he is able to be asangaha despite being in presence of everything. He is very not attached to any of this stuff that goes on in the universe. And the second, just reading the Sanskrit version, so to make sure that this is correct translation or the same exact translation. So he is realized through yoga taught in the various shastras. So that is easier for us to understand. So we'll move to the next sloka. Sloka number 12. This one, the first namam is Vasuhu. The next one is Vasumana. Vasumana, not a aha. Vasumana, leave with a just short. Vasumanaha. Okay. Vasumana, Satyaha, Samatma. See, there is another Atma namam here. Sammitaha, Samaha, Amoghaha, Pundarikakshaha, Vrishakarma, Vrishakrutihi. So how many namas did we get? Vasuhu, Vasumanaha, Satyaha, Samatma, Sammitaha, Samaha, Amoghaha, Pundarikakshaha, Vrishakarma, Vrishakritihi. 10 namas in all in both the lines. So we'll chant this sloka. Who would like to chant along?
I can.
Awesome. Um, so most important things to remember, there is a double sa after Vasumana Satya. So there is an extra emphasis there. And because of the Tyaha has a Visarga followed by sa, so that will also become a double S. We don't say Tyaha and sa, it becomes Thyasa. And the last visarga has to be pronounced. So there are quite a few double S kind of sounds. So we have to emphasize on those. Then the next line, Amogaf Pundarikaksha, because followed by a pa has to be has sound like an F. So Amogaf Pundarikaksho, Vrishakarma, Vrishakritihi. These are the vowel r, the rolling r, not the ra. So Vrishakarma with the regular ra and Vrishakr, again the same rolling, the 3 times it's appearing at the same time. So be mindful of the different sound for ra that you're pronouncing.
Guruji, before, sorry for interruption. So before this, that when you said Vrisha Karmaha, so that Vrisha will have U in that, and the other one has A. So Vrisha Kritihi.
Vrishakarma, Vrishakritihi.
Oh, so so it's all VR only, but one is U and one is A.
No, there is
Vrisha.
no V R with a dot at the bottom if you are talking about the international standards. The IAST form would be VR with a dot. There is the next word, the following, the succeeding syllable will create the kind of sound for this one because there is no syllable here. So there is no vowel here. Vrisha
Okay.
karma, vrisha
Vrisha.
kritihi.
Okay.
Vr.
Okay. Vr. Vr.
Yeah.
Thank you, Guruji.
Okay, we'll chant this one. I'll chant once and then we'll do it simultaneously, Anita ji. So one after the other. वसुर्वसुमनः सत्यः समात्मा संमितः समः अमोघः पुण्डरीकाक्षो वृषकर्मा वृषाकृतिः. I hope I made that clear. So Anita ji will chant, I think, half a sloka first and then we'll do the full sloka, like half quartlets. And then we'll do the 2 lines and then we'll do one full slokam. And when we do the first quartlet, we have to stop with the visarga because that's the right way to do it. But when we chant the full line, then we'll just take off the visarga and add an additional S. Vasur-vasumana satyah.
Vasumana Satyah.
And the sa would have to be second, like, just assume there are two S's there and then pronounce both S's at the same time. So we'll do it one more time, please. Vasur-vasumana satyah.
Vasumana Satyah.
Samatma sammitas samaha.
Samatma Sammita Samaha.
Amogah pundarikaksho.
Amogah Pundarikaksho.
Vrishakarma vrishakritihi.
Vrishakarma Vrishakritihi.
We'll do the full two lines. Sorry, one line and second line now. Ajas sarveswara siddhas siddhis sarvadirachyutah. Oh,
That's the wrong one.
the next one.
We're doing the previous.
Yes, the next one. Vasur vasumana satya samatma sammita samaha.
Vasumana Satya Samatma Sammita Samaha.
Sorry, I'm making a mistake at sammita. It's the ma that needs the emphasis, not the sa. So if you just give me one quick second, and it is asammita, and that's what I'm realizing. Sorry, when I'm chanting. Vasur vasumana satya samatma sammita samaha. I don't know why I'm getting the extra sa. One second. Vasur vasumana satya samatma sammita samaha. Sammita samaha. Not double S. It's only the double M that needs to be pronounced.
Okay.
Vrishagapirameyatma sarva yoga vinishritah vasur vasumana satya samatma sammita samaha. That's how it has to come, not the double S. So we'll try to be mindful of that when we are chanting this time. Vasur vasumana satya samatma sammita samaha.
Vasuranas. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll do it one line.
Vasur.
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Try it.
Vasumana Satya Samatma Sammita Samaha.
Yeah, because of the double M, I think the previous S also gets some emphasis for some reason. So I need to correct my chanting there. Amogah pundarikaksho vrishakarma vrishakritihi.
Amogha Pundarikaksho Vrishakarma Vrishakritihi.
Awesome. We'll do the full sloka now. Vasur vasumana satya samatma sammita samaha amogah pundarikaksho vrishakarma vrishakritihi.
Vasurvasumana Satya Samatma Sammita Samaha. Amogha Pundarikaksho Vrishakarma Vrishakritihi.
Awesome. Thank you, Anitaji.
Thank you.
So it is asammitaha and samaha. Samatma asammitaha. So those are the namas. So we'll look at the meanings now. Vasumanaha. Vasuhu is the first namam. The dweller. So actually this is connected to Vasudeva namam as well. But Vasu Namam is appearing twice, 270 and 696. Apparently, I am not that smart to recollect those numbers. I'm just reading from the book. And it is also connected to Vasudeva Namam. So we'll learn about why Vasudeva is termed that way. Not just because Vasudeva's son, there is the other deeper meaning for it. So the dweller or the abode of all beings, or Vasu means one of the 8 Vasus, a class of deities as described are the Ashtavasus. I am Pavaka among the Vasus is what Bhagavan says in the Vibhuti Yogam in Bhagavad Gita. So he dwells in the heart of the sages and the sadhus, the righteous, Nyayins, and the quiescent ones, Shantas. So those are some practical steps to figure out how to realize the Parabrahman living within us. So what are they saying? He dwells in the heart of the sages, sadhus, the righteous, Nyayins, and the quiescent ones, the Shantas. Does it mean that he doesn't live in any other hearts? Not really. It's just if we would be able to realize if these were the kind of qualities we had. There is a nice example that's given, so I'll just talk about that. There is a nyaya that describes why some people can feel the Bhagavan in their heart and some others are unable to. So they talk about a ghatam, a pot with multiple holes in it, and the pot is placed on top of a deepam, a little lamp. And on each of these holes, they place one is just left it as is without any covering on it. On one hole, they cover it with red glass. The other hole is covered with a blue glass. Another one is covered with a transparent, like translucent glass. And the one other is covered with glass that is covered in soot, all black. And they say, now look at how the same deepam reflects through these different glass or different coverings. And these are how our vrittis, our mind acts with us, and how we tend to slave ourselves to the mind. So that's what this kind of example describes to us. From from the hole that doesn't have any covering on it, we are able to see deepam very transparently, like there is no filter that is added in order to see the deepam. So it's exactly reflected as is, and we see this in great Mahatmas. It's not very easy to be that filterless, because we live in a world and we do have a mind that has its own way of living. And the red glass reflects red light, the blue glass reflects blue light, the translucent glass reflects to some degree the light in its own color, and the glass covered in soot does not reflect the light as much as the other glasses do. So what they talk about, it's much how much purity we have in our mind. That's how much we can see our own reflection, or we are able to see the Paramatman in somebody else's heart. So this comes down to finding faults in other people. Think that's the whole point of even saying namaste, right? That I see the Bhagavan in you. I don't see you as somebody with these vrittis, and know that there is a hidden Paramatman that is living in you, and I am doing namaha to that Paramatman. And all with the hope that some point all of these filters get cleared and we get purity of mind as much as possible as we continue to evolve in our sadhanas. And as soon as we talk about the dweller, and there are quite a few namas we have even seen before, Purushaha is one of the namam that comes to mind, where we talk about Bhagavan being dwelling in our hearts. And if you think about it, Bhagavan is not just in the heart, he is everywhere. But why do they say heart specifically? Because there are certain locations where Bhagavan is more concentrated. I don't know, I'm saying that. Anahata Chakram and Agnya Chakram are two spots that are very defined in Upanishads, like the Saubhagya Upanishad talks about. Saubhagya Lakshmi Upanishad talks about the chakras, and there are multiple yoga Upanishads that talk about Bhagavan being in a specific space. Vedanta says Bhagavan is everywhere. So he is the indweller, and actually Narayana Suktam talks about very detailed. At some point, I want to do Narayana Suktam as well. It's a very short Suktam. It takes less than like 40 seconds to chant it. Once you get enough practice, of course. And it's part of Vedam, right? It's part of Yajur Vedam. And it talks about Bhagavan being exactly two, they call it two measurement like this, and then something like this, exactly just comes down to this part in the heart, and inverted bud shaped light that lives in there. So at some point we'll learn a little bit more about that, and I'll bring Narayana Suktam details. And I chant it every day. So if anybody is interested, I'll share some more details on where to find if you are interested in chanting that. It's a beautiful Suktam. So Vasu is somebody nivasam karoti, in the heart, somebody who is living in the heart. Then the next namam, Vasumanaha, apparently it also appears as a 697th namam of great mind. Vasu means also means great. Here, meaning wealth signifies excellence or superiority. His mind is not polluted with the afflictions of desire, aversion, and with the pairs of pride, etc., hence of great mind. So here, I think Shankaracharya is trying to remind us about the Shatka Sampatti we've talked about in our Gita class, Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Samadhana. So those somebody who does not have vrittis, all those thoughts, and chittam especially. If you think about it, a thought itself is not as corrupted as the memory that it carries. For example, there is one, like, in Chinmaya mission, I've learned an example that they said, somebody offers a sweet to this person very rudely. And then what are the different stages of mind, and which part of the mind that is getting utilized, which part of the antahkarana is what we call it. And somebody, say, if they offered a sweet rudely, and if we say, okay, I felt that was rude and I don't like the way that was offered, that is a thought that arose at that moment. But what we think about is that memory stays with us for a very long time, and it reminds us of all the time, every time we see a sweet or every time we see a person, that day you actually offered me something like that. And there is a corporate philosophy, like, my organization follows. It's not what you do or for them, it's how you make them feel. So every interaction, may that be done politely, so the other person is not keeping you in their mind, because it's not just you being distracted with everything and you are free in your thoughts, but it is also somebody else should not be keeping you in mind and thinking about you in a negative way, because that also has negative impact on us. So that just transforms how we interact with people. So, contemplate on that a little bit more. But Bhagavan is somebody who is of great mind, and Shankaracharya described what great mind really means. Any thoughts so far? Anything we need to stop for, or can we continue to the next one? Okay.
Question. For Samatma, is it a double sa?
Samatma, yes. It is a Samatma, yeah.
Yes. It is a sama. Yeah. Double yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Sridevi ji, could you please, a couple of minutes ago you said about that equation. Could you please give that God plus gunas equals human? What was the second one?
Human minus gunas is God.
Okay. My mind is not reasoning that, so that's why I asked. Yeah.
So
How will it be humans minus gunas equals God?
So
What is the explanation?
yeah, so let me explain that. That's a very good question. So Bhagavan is the Nirgunam, or Gunatitam is what we call him, right? There are many, many namas that describe that. He is attributeless and he is not touched by the Sattva, Rajas, or Tamas. And this is, we are talking about when we say God in his original form as the Parabrahman, and not as the, Parabrahman and Paramatman don't have any attributes. They cannot be touched or they cannot be polluted with any gunas that my mind has. So for example, I'm very tamasic, I'm super lazy. If that is so, that is not an attribute of the Paramatman living in me. It's my mind that is tamasic, right? To that degree, we are clear. If the original Paramatman has to be nirgunam, otherwise the imbalance in, we call that the imbalance, just like, in Ayurveda we say vata pitta kapha imbalance. Gunas are also, either they can be in balance, which is not possible, or you have to surpass the gunas. And there is a whole, Siddhi Yogam that they call it, on how to become Gunatitam. And once those gunas are all gone, what's left is Bhagavan. And if you're talking about how to get there, there is a whole Siddhi Yoga that I can share some details about.
Sure. Thank you.
But did that make sense?
It did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Parabrahman with the Rajasic aspect, Parabrahman plus Rajas will become Brahma, because creation requires Rajasic nature. And then for sustenance, there is Satvikam that is required. So Parabrahman plus Sattva Guna becomes Vishnu, Sri Mahavishnu, who is sustaining the universe. And Parabrahman with some tamasic component will become Rudra in order to do the pralayam, in order to unmanifest back. And we would think like, oh my God, it's pralayam means, he's destruction. Destruction is very, very important. Even in our body, there are cells that are getting destructed, and that's why we are able to grow. Otherwise, children will stay children forever. So destruction is part of the universe, and that requires tamasic nature. So none of the gunas are either should be considered good or bad. We all have all of those qualities. But when Bhagavan himself doesn't have those qualities, the Parabrahman, and if we are able to reach that state of the Gunatitam, then we are nothing but the Parabrahman. That's the description. Any other thoughts before we move?
Thank you, Shriji. I'd like to ponder on that. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. The next namam is Satyaha. This namam appears apparently 3 times, 106, which is the current one that we are reading, 212, and 869. The true is how it is described. It's not the truth for some reason. I don't know why. So let's read. The true, being Paramatman, the rivers of the unreal. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Brahman is existence, knowledge, infinite, or who is with and without form. And the same Upanishad again continues to say, he is endowed with form and devoid of form, or Satyam, Sat Pranaha, Ti, food or matter, and Yam, sun. He is Satya because his form is made up of prana, matter, and the sun. So they're giving like multiple meanings for this. So the Shruti Aittiriya Upanishad says, Sat means prana, Ti means food, Yam means the sun, or because he is virtue in holy men. So there are, how many meanings did we get? Sorry. I don't know why I don't have any notes on this particular namam. So one is he is the only truth, the reverse of unreal, the Paramatman. Therefore, he is the existence. So that's one meaning. And then the second meaning is Sat means prana, Ti means food or matter, and Yam means sun. So Satya means his form is made up of prana, matter, and sun. That's the second meaning. And the third meaning that's given here is he is virtue. He is the virtue in holy men, or Sat Purushaha. And we did talk about Satyam and Mithya in the past. Something that is independent in existence versus something that is depending on that existence. So he is the substratum of everything. He doesn't need anything else to be to exist. So that is the Satyam. Next namam 107 is Samatma, the same self, whose mind is undisturbed by love or hatred, or he is the same, sama, in all beings. The Shruti Kaushitaki Upanishad says, one should understand that the self is the same in all. Comes back to many of those Shatka Sampatti we were talking about. So Padmaji, this is one of the ways in that Siddha Yoga on to becoming Gunatitam, is first not to have dualities, not to say I like versus I dislike, not just to say it, but actually don't feel any difference between a good and a bad, or not even labeling anything. I think that's where it actually starts. Swami Tattvavidananda ji, one of my disciples of Swami Dayananda ji, used to do meditation for us in Sailorsburg in the morning. and says, let the thoughts flow. In the meditation, he would say, let's thought flow. Just stop labeling them. No thought is good or bad. You could get any kind of thought, that's okay. Just don't categorize as this is good, this is bad, oh, this is something I want to do tomorrow versus today. And he would explain to us about thoughts in such nice, amazing detail. And he would tell us every thought you're getting is either about a future thought, something that you want to do in future, something that may happen in future. It's either about future or about past. There cannot be a thought if you start living in the present. So that's another practical approach that Siddhi Yoga gives on how to become Gunatitam. There are multiple facets of it, obviously, but stopping to label things and stopping to think about future or past. If there is no future and past that you're thinking about, if you're living in the present, then there are no vrittis, no chittas, and all of that stuff. Either we can do one more namam or we can just discuss in the next 3 minutes. Which one would you prefer? One more namam. Okay. Asammitaha, unlimited, or unlimited by every other thing. So I have to contemplate on this a little bit. So let me just look at the Sanskritam one. Something that is aparichinnam. Sarvairapi richa tromiti asammitaha. Unlimited by every other thing. Sammitaha, measured by all. Asammitaha, something that cannot be measured. So we do understand unlimited, but I am trying to understand what is this by every other thing. So I need some time to just contemplate on this. So maybe we'll discuss this in next week. We'll start from this particular namam. I need some extra notes on this one.
Acceptable also. Sammata means acceptable also, right?
Sammatam is acceptance. This is sammita.
Sammita, okay. And what's the meaning of Vasumana? I think I missed that one.
Of great mind. And the description is Vasu is great. Here, meaning wealth signifies excellence or superiority. His mind is not polluted with the afflictions of desire, aversion, and with pairs of pride, etc., which is the dualities, and hence of great mind. So it's
Okay,
a great
thank you.
description of what is a great mind. And I think
Guruji, morning Guruji, can
Morning.
you repeat the 11th sloga once again, please, if you don't mind?
Sure. 11th or the 12th?
11th, Guruji.
Okay.
Thank you.
अजः सर्वेश्वरः सिद्धः सिद्धिः सर्वादिरच्युतः वृषा कपिरमेयात्मा सर्वयोगविनिःसृतः.
Thank you, Guruji.
Awesome. I'll do 12 as well. Vasur.
Guruji, at this point, sir.
Go ahead. Sorry, Lata.
Sorry. No, because you said that stanza, I had that doubt. So I thought when it comes to that, I wanted to ask you. So when you said Ame Atma, so that Vishar, so it's not Rame Atma, it's Ame Atma, correct?
Correct.
Vrisha Kapir Rame Ame Atma.
Correct. And the the namams, if we are doing like, as namam, Vrisha Kapihi Ameyatma. So we do like, yeah. The actual namam is kapihi, but when we are combining, the sandhi will become ra there. Therefore, we don't see the visarga. So, but if we were doing the namavali puja, then we would have said Om Vrishakape Yai Namaha, Om Ameyatma Yai Namaha.
Oh, okay. Can you just say once again that word Vrishakapi?
Yeah.
Vrisha?
Vrishakapirame sarva yoga vinisritaha.
Thank you, Guruji.
Okay, we'll do the 12th sloka as well and we'll conclude there. Vasur Vasumana Satya Samatma Sammitas Samaha Amogah Pundarikaksho Vrishakarma Vrishakritihi. Something that I've never noticed before, that I am feeling like I'm adding an extra half S or something like that in front of the Samhita. So I'm going to practice that today to just perfect it. Awesome. We'll conclude it here with our prayer. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु Sarvam Sriman Narayana Charanaravindar. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up next week or in 15 minutes if you're joining Lalita Sahasranamam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.